The sniper's pulse disappeared for 3 terrifying seconds. In a trauma bay washed in harsh white light, machines flickered and alarms trembled on the edge of chaos. The man on the table had arrived unconscious, his body battered from a classified training accident miles offshore. His dog tags rested against his chest, engraved with a name few in the hospital recognized: Chief Petty Officer Daniel Cross. But someone had whispered it in the hallway: SEAL Sniper. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Eva Reynolds had been a registered nurse for exactly 42 days. 42 days of triple checking everything, of pretending she wasn't intimidated by surgeons who moved like they owned time itself. She was competent, careful, and constantly afraid of making a mistake that would define her career before it began. Tonight, she felt that fear tightening like a wire around her ribs. Daniel's blood pressure plummeted again. Where's the attending? Someone demanded. 10 minutes out, another voice replied. 10 minutes was too long. Eva's eyes locked on the monitor. She noticed something subtle. The rhythm of his pulse wasn't just weakening. It was destabilizing. It was destabilizing in a pattern she'd studied during her emergency trauma rotation. Internal hemorrhage wasn't the only issue. There was cardiac tamponade pressure building around his heart. She swallowed. Speaking up meant challenging the assumption that they could wait for the attending physician. Staying quiet meant risking a life. Her voice trembled but didn't break. We need to relieve pressure now. He won't last 10 minutes. A senior nurse frowned. That's not your call. But the monitor dipped again. Eva felt a sudden clarity cut through her fear. This wasn't about hierarchy, it was about the man on the table. She prepared the equipment for emergency decompression, hands steady despite the storm in her chest. When the physician assistant hesitated, she met his eyes. Trust me. Seconds later, the procedure was underway. The room fell into an intense silence, the kind where everyone holds their breath. Eva focused only on the numbers. Then the pulse returned, weak, fragile, but present. A collective exhale moved through the trauma bay. Daniel's chest rose more evenly. His oxygen levels stabilized just enough. To buy time. Eva stepped back, heart racing. She hadn't saved him entirely. She had only kept him from slipping away. But sometimes survival begins with seconds. Outside, rain began tapping against the windows. The city slept, unaware that in one fluorescent lit room, a battle had quietly shifted. 30 minutes later, a deep vibration tremored through the building. Staff exchanged confused glances. The sound grew louder, unmistakable, heavy, rhythmic. A helicopter. Security rushed down the corridor. Administrators appeared from offices as if pulled by invisible strings. A Navy helicopter descended onto the hospital's rooftop landing pad, rotors cutting through the wet night air. Word spread quickly. High-level command had been notified the moment Daniel was admitted. Eva watched from the hallway as uniformed officers entered with urgent composure. Their presence changed the atmosphere. The injured man was not just a patient. He was someone whose life carried strategic weight, yet as she looked at him through the glass tubes and monitors surrounding him, he seemed less like a legend and more like a son, a brother, maybe someone's father. One officer approached Eva quietly. "You're the nurse who intervened?" She hesitated. "I just followed what I saw." He nodded once deeply. "You gave him a fighting chance." The words warmed her more than the hospital heating ever could. Daniel was transferred upstairs, stabilized for specialized transport. The helicopter had arrived to escort him to a military medical facility, better equipped for his long-term recovery. As they wheeled him toward the elevator, his eyelids fluttered faintly. Just once, Eva noticed. "Daniel," she whispered, unsure if he could hear her. "Stay with us." His fingers twitched slightly against the blanket. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't cinematic, but it was real. Later, alone in the locker room, Eva sat on the bench and let the adrenaline drain from her system. Doubt crept back in. Had she overstepped? Had she risked too much? The attending physician found her there. "You made the right call," he said simply. "You saw what others missed." She looked up, surprised. "Medicine isn't about waiting for permission to care," he added. "It's about courage under pressure." Weeks passed. Daniel survived surgery. Rehabilitation would be long. Classified details remained unspoken. But one afternoon, a letter arrived at the hospital addressed to Nurse Eva Reynolds. Inside was a short message. "You stepped forward when time ran out. I don't remember your face, but I remember waking up. Thank you for not hesitating." There was no signature beyond his name. Eva held the letter carefully, understanding something deeper than praise. She hadn't saved a sniper. She hadn't saved a symbol. She had saved a human being, and the helicopter that shook the rooftop that night wasn't the true turning point. Her decision was, because courage rarely announces itself with noise, it shows up quietly in moments where fear and responsibility collide, and sometimes the difference between life and loss is a rookie who refuses to stay silent. True strength is not rank or reputation, it is the willingness to act when it matters most. And in the stillness after the storm, Ava realized that confidence isn't given, it's earned in the seconds when you choose bravery over doubt. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to Cinematic Whispers for more powerful stories about courage, humanity, and the unseen heroes among us.